Hi everybody, I'm here with the lovely Esther Marie, the award-winning makeup artist who has been with us every week since lockdown started so that we can add a little bit of colour into our cheeks. Yes, and Esther is wearing a colourful top for today's session and I've gone all a bit dotty. So we are very happy to be here. We've done a lot over the time. We've covered a lot of grounds with makeup, and one of the things that Esther Marie is really cool at doing is making a lot out of a few products. And if you saw last Saturday's session, you will you just be aware of how she does that, which is incredible and remarkable. So she's a very interesting person. We want to hear more about her. And what we decided to do today was to record this instead of go live, because we've been just absolutely ruined by broadband issues. So we're going to record this and hopefully this will be cool. We want to hear more from Esther Marie about what draws her into the world of makeup. So Esther Marie, tell us, how did you get started in the makeup industry?
Right. So I guess it goes back to when I was 16 and I left school, which I think is about 34 years ago. So it was in the 80s, and in those days, I think you still do have a careers advisor. And they're supposed to be the font of all knowledge and get everything sorted. And my dad was an engineer, and he got a big steelworks and made very big things. And I liked the idea of making things. And I thought the female version of making things would be to make jewellery. So I went to my careers advisor and I said, I want to make jewellery. And she obviously went through all her contacts and came up with a fantastic idea that I was going to go and work on a YTS scheme. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
£16.50 a week. And the idea was you spent 4 days doing the work and you spent a day doing skills, as in skills in the relevant field, going to college basically.
So anyway, can I just butt in and ask? So, were you in the East, the West Midlands at that point? Is that where you were living?
I was in a place called Walsall.
Okay, so in Birmingham, there's a very, very famous jewellery quarter, isn't there?
Yes, you would have thought I'd have gone there.
And did you?
No, no, that was a different continent for this career advisor. Yeah, right. No. I knowing now, I would have sent myself there, but no. So the place she sent me to was Boots of Walsall.
Boots.
And in Boots of Walsall, there is 13, 14 departments: photographic, cook shop, toiletries, cosmetics. And within that store, there is a jewellery counter. And she sent me to go and be on the jewellery counter, which is nothing to do with making jewellery, is it?
Nothing. That's retail, which is a completely different skill set, isn't it, to making jewellery? Okay.
Yeah. So, but the best of it was when I turned up, I never made it on jewellery. My first month, because you moved around, so you were going to spend a month in each of the departments. My first month was on cook shop, so I had the lovely brown overall. And microwaves were the in thing. So I found myself selling this new device called a microwave, and sort of like soda streams were very on plan then. And then I was there for 4 weeks, and I was going to college once a week, which actually was in Birmingham, in Cars Lane. It was actually in a church. And I then got put into my next department, and I thought, here we go, jewellery. No, I made it on to photographic.
Oh my goodness.
So I made it onto photographic, which was right at the other end of the shop, at the back of the shop. And as I'm looking down the aisles, right at the front of the shop was the cosmetic girls. Well, my dad had his own company, and he always kind of was very much like, network, speak to each people, what have you. So the girls on the cosmetic counters, even though I was 16, I didn't think they were some people would actually find them quite hard to approach at that age, because they'd obviously be kind of like, you know, they were account managers and they had the uniform and they had the nails and the makeup and everything. But me being me, I just went straight in there and decided to keep to talk to them, and they're probably thinking, who is this 16-year-old? I decided that I liked the uniforms. It was better than my current blue overall, from nylon overall from Boots, and decided to get in with the girls, and got talking to a girl called Teresa, who was leaving a counter to go and work on the other side of the department, which was on the coatie counter, selling Lonthric.
Wow.
And the job that she was leaving was working for Max Factor, but it was actually selling Outdoor Girl and Minors, which some of you may remember.
I do. I do remember those names. Yeah, definitely.
Max Factor. So I worked for Max Factor, but it was part of one of their product ranges, which is Outdoor Girl and Minors. And it's actually
so basically you got her job.
Yeah, she said to me, I'm leaving, apply for my job. But in those days, like air hostesses, you had to be 21, and I was only 16.
Wow.
So it just shows you can, you know, if you have the right attitude and what have you. And I'd gained trust with all these girls on the cosmetic counters, and they obviously put a really good word in for me, and I got the job on the Outdoor Girl Minors counter, which was £60 a week from my £16.50. But the best news was it was only 24 hours a week.
Gosh.
But me being me, a 16-year-old, I thought, well, why do I want to go into work at 10 and leave at 4? I really wanted to work. So I went in at 9 and I left at 6. And after a period of time, I got noticed and I achieved all the targets. In fact, I doubled the business on the account. And working for the same company as the Max Factor consultant, a new fragrance was about to be launched, and it was called Le Jardin, along with other brands that they had, like Geminis. So Le Jardin came out, and I just wanted to sell Le Jardin. I wasn't going to earn any commission on it or anything. So I had some of her Le Jardin perfume bottles with a tester, because I didn't have a fragrance to sell, and I wanted to be one of those girls as she walked into the shop saying, would you like a spray? So that gave me an opportunity to approach people and introduce this fragrance to them. And as we know, it became very, very popular. And because of that, we won in Boots Warsaw a national competition, which basically was to have an evening with Jane Seymour. So Jane, who was on the Max Factor counter, won it because she was the Max Factor consultant selling Le Jardin, but she was very, very kind and said, I'm not going unless I can take Esther, because if it wasn't for Esther, I wouldn't have achieved it.
Gosh, that's
and
amazing.
This goes into something we were talking earlier about. There's certain people on our journey that we look back at now and we realise they were massive stepping stones for us to get to where we've got to. So Jane was definitely one of those springboards that really made a difference, but at the time I had absolutely no idea that she did. And if you look back at the careers advisor, if she hadn't have put me on into Boots, then I probably wouldn't have made it into cosmetics. So that your question is, how did I get started? It wasn't by default, it was by fault.
Yes, it was. It was very interesting. And because of your work ethic, and because you were attracted by
uniforms,
you were drawn to it. But how many people are actually drawn to uniforms? So I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were interviewing people who'd worked for airlines, and one of the cabin crew, now that we call them cabin crew, she said that she had her best job in the airlines was with was it with Britannia Airways? Because she said the uniform was absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And I thought, and she was right. Because you know that now we go on Ryanair and EasyJet, and everyone's wearing fleeces and things, aren't they?
Well, I think it also highlighted it when we had the Victory Day, Victory in Europe Day the other day, because when I was looking at outfits, and my mum was looking at them obviously remotely with me, the corsetry of the stitching and the structure of the jackets and everything, and we've now embraced this kind of like relaxed, no seams, no iron approach. And I definitely think, and I think that's probably why we feel special sometimes when we go out, because you're going out clothes, if you're going to a ball or something, or a special occasion, they're normally tailored. And I do think there's a big reflection on what you wear and how you feel, which is something we don't really promote or identify, or whatever the word is. We talk about how we feel, and how we look, but we never think about fabrics and textures, and how it actually, if you go back to the Queen Victoria era, and they'd got those corsets on, you couldn't slouch in them. It was, your clothes actually made you stand completely different, whereas now, it doesn't really matter what you do.
And I constantly look at myself. We were talking about this earlier. I constantly look at my shoulders, and they're not in alignment. And I've got the t-shirty top on as well. I absolutely adore fabrics. I love fabrics. I love tailored jackets. I love tailoring. I think there is nothing better than that. And I'm just wondering, because you were actually drawn by the uniform, you could quite easily have gone into a world which was based on tailoring, or which was based on fashion. And those early days, so you were flexible, you almost had transferable skills, and you were testing out where you wanted to work. And luckily in Boots, they actually gave you the opportunity to try out, move away from microwaves and move into the glamorous world of makeup. And they gave you that opportunity. And how important it is really in these days to get a sense of who we are and what floats our boat. And we don't often know that, because often we don't get exposed to things.
We're also not prepared to make mistakes. It's become a world where we're expected to put each foot in front of each other. It'd be perfect, right? That's why I did that. But we seem to be, the world now seems to be like, you need to have done all your research, gone online, found out what you need to do, and therefore, and move into that perfect world. Whereas my biggest achievements, even touching on the fact as to why I started making products, was because I had really bad skin. But at the time when I had really bad skin, that was horrific in my life. But if I hadn't have had really bad skin, I wouldn't have made my products. If I hadn't have had a crappy uniform at Boots, I probably wouldn't have thought about the uniform on the counters. And I really do think those little drops, and that's something that I really feel, especially school leavers. I've gone into schools before and spoken about, because obviously when I walk through the door with all my Esther Marie gear, they're all like, oh, a makeup artist. I never touch makeup. I never do any makeovers. I never do anything. I talk about how I got into it, and basically say to them, do you know what, just pick something, just go for it. And if you don't enjoy it, it'll tell you that you don't like it. My work experience at school was working in an office. And I thought, well, that's what everybody does. But what it did for me was that week in that office was like, I never want to work in an office. And that's not helped. That's not, you as a coach do that, you tease that out of people, but it's kind of like that person might end up working in an office for the rest of their life and feel absolutely uncomfortable in there. But actually, if somebody got hold of them and said, do you know what, you're not suited to work in an office, and asking those leading questions, why don't you hand your notice in and go and do gardening?
We don't do that as coaches though, Esther Marie.
Oh, don't we? All right.
Let me just reassure everybody that we don't actually say go and hand your notice in. But that's the thing, isn't it?
You help people, yeah.
In an office environment, there are so many things. I mean, office environments are super exciting because you get to be able to be at the sharp end of the business in terms of sales or procurement, or warehousing or design or computer management or networking. I mean, my goodness me, the possibilities are endless. But yeah, we people need to know what exciting work is out there, I suppose. So
Yeah.
let's just come back to Boots. You were in Boots in Walsall. You were happy with your uniform.
Yeah.
And what was it about the makeup that drew you in? Because you could have walked somewhere else. You could have seen the shop across the way, and the way that the girls were going in their, or the girls and boys were going in their, in their outfits to sell clothes, but you didn't. So what drew you in to the makeup? What was that like in the early days?
Because I never really knew of anything more than the shop that I was working in, and it wasn't a particularly big Boots, it was a medium-sized Boots. To be honest with you, I had very little other influences. I knew that some of my friends from school had gone to work in McDonald's, and I probably thought, and it probably was the uniform, I did think, I don't want to wear that uniform.
Mm.
And then some of my friends went and worked at HMV. But I never, ever set out wanting to work in cosmetics at all. I would probably say, if anything, I just liked the professionalism. I liked their ethics. I liked the fact that they were confident. I liked the fact that they had certain freedom to do what they wanted, whereas working obviously in a department, you've all got roles and things to do. Whereas when you're an account manager, when you work on a cosmetic counter, you've got to do the stock, you've got to clean it, you've got to talk to the customers, you've got to promote the products. You're your own little, that's why they call them account managers on there. And they're great little jobs to start out there. And when I get people, I get hundreds of moms a year saying, my daughter's fantastic at putting makeup on, could you come and work with you? I always strongly advise to say, people, if you want to get involved in cosmetics, go and get a Christmas job or a holiday job working on the cosmetics department, because it really does make a big difference. But my stepping stone from that basically was, obviously now I was working for Max Factor, albeit in the cheaper budget brand. My next stepping stone, so then I did start to have a goal to achieve. So to start with, there was no goal. It was basically, it just happened by fault. But now I definitely had a goal, because I now wanted to move from the budget range of Max Factor, and I wanted to now be a Max Factor consultant, which in 1980 was quite a glamorous job. Max Factor now is more mass cosmetics. So Max Factor was basically sitting alongside Revlon. It was, and not the Revlon we know now, because Revlon's also gone mass market. It was quite a premium brand. And I actually then I actually started to get noticed, albeit about a year or year and a half working on this counter. And I started to get the head office people come and visit me, because this little account was targeted to have sort of £600 a week sales, and I was doing like £3,000 a week. And they were like, what's happening in Walsall?
Wow.
And I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing coffee mornings, I was doing events, I was doing, I'd go and get a table with a chair and do little hand massages. But now I look back and I think, my God, I was golden. But at the time, I did things because I enjoyed that interaction. And I was like, I don't want to talk to somebody standing at a counter. I want to go and get some chairs. I want them to sit down. If I get them a cup of coffee, I'll get them a cup of coffee. And I still do that to this day. And they asked me if I would go and work in Boots Birmingham, which was a massive account. This was an account that had 6 girls on it. It was like me going there, and now I never saw it in myself at all. And I had somebody say to me, they took me for a coffee and they worked for the company, and they said, Esther, if you wait for the right time to do it, it's too late. And I would always take that bit of advice, because if you haven't got a little bit of like, whoa, do you know what, you're just plateauing yourself. But if it's a bit of a kind of like, oh my God, can I really do this, and just push yourself a little bit and push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, you'll be surprised it's nowhere near as bad as what you thought. So that was me. I then went full-time into Boots Birmingham on Max Factor counter, now working as a team of girls under some fantastic leaders. And roll it on a year, and I then got spotted again, and they now wanted me to go on what was called the promotion team.
So what was the reason you were spotted again? So you're in you're in, I'm guessing, the premier or flagship store in Birmingham. You were the team of 6 people. How did you set yourself apart from everybody else?
I made myself very coachable.
Mm.
I was like a sponge.
Mm.
I could not get enough any training, any way I could help somebody, anything. I just was, looking back now, I was a complete sponge, and I was prepared to not think about how I would do it. I was prepared to toe the line and have trust in that person who said to me, this is how we need to do it. When you promote this product, this is what you say. And I had complete trust and faith in those leaders that were leading me then to do it. And they obviously, now I know I'm the person who would probably employ those people. For me, I now know how golden I was, because they looked at me and thought, my God, we could drop her anywhere and she would do it. And I think that's just one of the secrets for being successful in your work, is to basically relax a little bit. And, you know, when you leave work, you're still yourself. But I think sort of like to be comfortable in the environment that you work in, and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I got promoted to what was called an SBC, which was called Senior Beauty Consultant. And this was basically me now traveling all around the UK at 17, 18 years old. And I was now going to be working 6 days a week, 6 weeks at a time, and then I got a week off. I don't know if it's legal anymore. And I would get told to go to a certain store because there was an issue, because there was either a vacancy or because the sales weren't good enough. And as I say, I became this person that they could drop into any scenario. And my first place that I got sent to was Bins of Middlesbrough.
Wow.
And that was because there was a lovely lady there who was going to be retiring in a year. And she decided that she'd retired. But unfortunately, she wasn't retiring for a year. And the business was just dropping and dropping and dropping. And there's nothing that the company could have done about it. They couldn't give her targets. You know, she'd been there 30 years. They literally had to ride the storm. But they knew ultimately the account was probably going to close if they carried on the way they were. So I got sent to trainer. At the age of 17, I'm now training somebody who was just about to retire. Wow. And I obviously just got it right again. And what I did was I went into the store, and I don't know where these words came from, but I said to the lady, who was obviously thinking, who are you? I said, I've come to learn off you. And she was like, oh, like me? I said, yeah, they've sent me because you've got loads of experience and I've come to learn off you. Not she was going to learn off me. So it just shows you can approach it in a different way.
Yeah.
And I stood with her, and she literally did not move. So you remember how I got started on the Outdoor Gold Miners counter, where I did coffee mornings and stuff like that? She turned up every day. She walked behind a counter. In those days, you had counters that you walked behind. And she never left behind her counter, and she stood there and she waited for the customers to come to her, and there was no customers coming. She was in an area of the store where nobody walked past. So I thought, you've got to go to where the customers are. So me being me, not terrified by the store manager, went straight up to the manager's office of this big department store and said, in this little 17, 18-year-old voice, I need a table. Which he went, hello. I said, I've come to make your counter make more money. I need a table. And he said, right. And I think he was so shocked, he got me the table. So anyway, I decided to say to the lady who was leaving, retiring, I said, it's a bit cramped round here with the two of us. What I'm going to do is, why don't we get a table, and I'll work from the table on the outside the front of the counter, and then you can still stay behind, of course, because you're really happy there. And I'll use this table at the front, and then we'll have a bit more space. Still didn't make any money because still no customers walking past. So I said to her, have you got any samples? And she said, oh yeah. She got thousands of samples. She never gave any of the samples away. I went to the stock room and it was just like full of samples.
Wow.
So I got the samples, separated the boxes from the sample, and basically decided that what we'll do is I'll go to the front of the store with my table. It's probably Le Jardin samples. I'll hand out the box and say, if you go to that counter over there, she'll put it in for you. And then when they come over to you, you can sell to them. She was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I said, I'll go first because it's really cold by the front door. So I'm sending across to her probably 40 people an hour. You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
It's got to happen. She didn't sell anything.
Wow.
And yet she got this massive footfall. So it proved a point. It wasn't the footfall, it was her. So I said to her, it's really cold there. I said, can I come and stand on the counter and you go and hand the boxes out? So she handed the boxes out, and then I did like $3,000.
Wow.
Because before I gave the sample over, I just said to the customer, how are you today? Have you had a good day? Have you ever used these products before? Are you going out anytime soon? You know, what sort of products do you normally use? So before I gave them the sample, without making them feel uncomfortable, I just asked a few questions, and they would say like, do you know what? I've been looking for a lipstick. And I'd say, well, sit down, I'll put a little bit on for you. And converted it. The conversion was there. And this lady who was retired then obviously came back, and she said, oh, you've just been very lucky. Anyway, we repeated it. Cut the story short, after the week, she was selling fantastic. What she did without her realising is she'd obviously started to see what I was doing, and she was saying it and doing it before she knew it. So that's my way of sort of saying, when you teach, which is why when I teach people to be teachers, you never say the word teach, you just show.
So that for us as a coach is very much about building rapport. So you didn't go in to tell her what to do, but you worked with her, alongside her. You were bubbly and, if I may say, ballsy. You made some changes. It would have obviously been quite concerning for her to have chosen to decide that you'd just been lucky. Luckily enough, she picked up on the cues, and I would imagine you had a lot to do with that. So there is, undoubtedly, you are an incredible person in terms of sales, Esther Marie.
It's easy when you're interested in people.
It very much is.
Yeah.
When did you become interested in the products themselves? Because here you are, you've made your own range of products. You must have somewhere along the line decided the transformation in people's faces, or the way that products react differently on different skins. Where did you get hooked into
that?
Yeah, the products themselves and what they could do to transform a person's face.
Well, I'm still only 17 when I got to the bit that I had, and just from when I was 21, I got made redundant from Max Factor. Then I went and worked for the Lancaster Group, working with brands like Vivienne Westwood, Isabella Rossellini. I brought to the UK with a team of people, Yoke, Davidoff, Jill Sander. So I then moved into top end stuff. And then I did go and work for Revlon International for a bit. And then I also moved into the fashion industry. So you're rolling on now to me being about 30. Okay. So I then moved into like really high management roles.
So can I just interrupt? So what was the reason that you think that you were made redundant from Max Factor? What happened there?
Procter and Gamble brought Max Factor, nothing to do with me.
And so they just literally sort of did what they did. They obviously wouldn't have been aware of who was.
Yeah, some people might remember Max Factor used to be on a counter, and it used to be sort of normally next to Revlon or Number 7. And then there was a transition where Max Factor then got put on a gondola and it became self-select.
Right.
So Procter and Gamble came along and decided that Max Factor could be far more profitable if we could lose all these beauty consultants.
Okay.
So everybody got made redundant.
Mm.
So it was nothing to do with the individuals or how fantastic people were. It was a corporate thing that got done. Because they pulled all the consultants, Boots said, well, you're not having a counter, you can go over there with the Rimmel stand. and that was the downward spiral of Max Factor being a very premium brand to a mass market brand that you see now. But for me, going very fast as I did, I didn't realise what I'd achieved until I looked back. But then I got to about 30 odd, and so touching onto products now and starting myself, my skin started to massively deteriorate. And what I realised was, pushing as hard as I did in my teens and 20s, your body can cope with it. But when you get your 30s, I think that's the biggest change mentally and physically, that if you're still pushing yourself at that rate, getting on flights, traveling. I mean, I used to do like 200,000 miles a year in a car, and ridiculous that all of a sudden my body couldn't catch up with me. And
Is that right? You did 200,000 miles a year in the car?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 1,000 miles a day was quite a normal thing. So I would drive down from Birmingham, I would drive down to Exeter and back in a day. We did more miles, the sales team used to do more miles than a lorry driver would do, and he would drive and then have to stop driving. But we would drive down, we'd get there at 10 o'clock in the morning, we'd then do all of our meetings, and then we would drive back home. In those days, I could have easily stayed over in a hotel and stuff, which is what I did. But we had massive areas and a lot of pressure, So I then started to practice what I spoke, which was, okay, my skin's gone really oily, so I need to use this cleanser, this toner, this moisturiser, I need to use the products from the oily range, I need to use all of these things that I'm telling all my customers to do. And my skin was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was probably using about 6-7 products, and my skin was painful and it was sore. And it was mentally as well. I'd changed, and I just decided I want to work for myself. I don't know what I want to do. I want to work for myself. So I started to do my coffee mornings. So it goes back to me being 16 again. But I started to do coffee mornings. I'd then worked for La Perla, which was a massive high-end luxury brand. And I'd built up a really good connection with some beautiful boutiques all over the UK. And I said to them, can I come in and do customer evenings for you? Because where a lot of them were struggling was these simple customer relationship type building events. They just did not know how to market them, how to get people there. But if they could say they've got somebody coming in who's going to do a talk about makeup, I had no products. I was just going to talk about how to use products. I had nothing to sell. So I started off helping people, other boutiques, like build their business without any product, but they were doing, going back to when I was 17, we were doing the customer event things, which was basically the coffee mornings and stuff like that. And then as time went by, I realised everybody was saying to me, well, where can I buy that product from? Where can I buy that product from? And I was saying, oh, you can get that one from Boots, you can get that one from Debenhams, you can get that one from somewhere. And I realised then, even though I've got access to fantastic products, because obviously working in the industry, I could get whatever I wanted, I realised I was missing a trick. I realised I was missing a trick where I could basically sell the product. So I then went on a mission to look for brands and products that I could sell. And on my journey, there was quite a few of them that I'd used and stuff. My skin still wasn't getting any better. And I just decided, do you know what? I know what goes into products. I know how to fix things. So I started mixing and blending products on my kitchen table. So I started mixing with some oils and some blends and things. I took myself off. I went on to training courses, how to make products and everything, and I did all of that. And I started with the first product, and obviously I'll start talking about products a little bit now, which was my treatment oil number 2. So this was 15 years ago. And it was because I wanted to work for myself. My skin was falling apart and clients wanted to buy products off me. But I didn't want to use branded products. I realised that I was bigger than any brand that was out there. It was my knowledge and the way that obviously I help people. So I wanted everything to be branded up as Esther Marie. So I went on this journey of trial and error, starting different things. And then I combined the fact that I was going vegan with that belief that I wanted things. So companies could manufacture products for me, but the biggest thing was they weren't vegan, or, you know, they were slightly different. So now, bringing it up to current day, there is a massive amount of vegan products out there. Do you know what? Normally the only ingredient that's in cosmetics that's not vegan is beeswax. There's lots of people who actually think, well, is beeswax that much of a problem? But yes, you know, obviously it does kill bees when you pull the bee thing out, and it is the bee's food, but it's beeswax which is the ingredient which makes a lot of products not vegan, and it's normally the ingredients in lipsticks and stuff like that. So my end goal, when I started off going back to my journey working in boots, my dream is just to have Esther Marie products, a small range of products on the shelf in boots where I started at 16 years old, and then I can tick the box. And for me, using all my knowledge, working with all these companies over the last 30 odd years, I know what sells and I know what doesn't sell. So that's why now I'm at a stage where I've done all the selling, I've worked out what products work, which is this small range of products. And now I'm at a stage where I've just literally launched this year something that's called my ambassador program, where I can take people and say, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to look after people. So I can provide that training. And instead of them going to a company now to sell cosmetics, which you will probably expect, I mean, if somebody took my original range, it was probably about 300 units in total if you add up all of the different things. But now I've worked out it's 7 or 8 things. So I've crunched it down to a really small little package that I can say to people, you can become an ambassador or refer and earn an income through it. So that's I can retire then.
That's your retirement plan.
It's a massive little journey, but the reason why I've told you all about those things, working in boots and getting it wrong, the uniform, how serving customers, how to do it, how not to do it. If I hadn't have done all those things, I wouldn't have had the knowledge that I have now. And I think that's what differentiates myself to other people who you could go and work with and sell products, but I think it's that knowledge that I've got, and I know the things that work and don't work. And because of COVID and because of the mindset that I had at the beginning of the year, I wanted to take my business online. I've suddenly realised what I do is replicable. You can repeat it.
Yes, replicable.
Yeah, so I can do the workbooks, the cheat sheets, the products, and I'm just getting printed up some things that when people do my courses online, they work through a checkbox thing. So before the course starts, they get their own little makeup bag sent to them, and then they do the course with me. So all of those things, it add up to where you are now, don't they?
They do. So everything that we do in life leads to where we are now, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent decisions, good, bad, or indifferent experiences. And I think it's, I personally think that there's a lot of skill and resourcefulness that we can gather from ourselves and be inspired by ourselves, so that we can inspire ourselves to reach the goals in the future. Because I think most people who are interested in setting up their own business, or most people who are interested in moving forward in life, know that actually the buck stops with you. You're the one that makes it happen, or accepts that the status quo is fine. So I think very, very definitely that issue about going on that lovely journey of the decisions we made, the experiences we've had, and how that brings us to who we are today. I think that's massively powerful. For us coaches, that's massively powerful.
You can't buy it, can you? It's not
no.
unfortunate. And I look and I think, okay, my 50th year of doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why didn't I do this when I was 21? Why didn't I just help people to sell my products with these 7 products?
Yeah.
And they could repeat what I do.
Yeah.
Look, it seems so simple, but it takes 34 years of being able to do that. And I'll probably, Esther Marie will probably be a very big brand when I'm dead.
That life has changed though a lot, hasn't it? I mean, you now people buy online. We didn't have that. I've literally just been watching a few of the early episodes of Friends, for example, and I laugh out loud at them. They're hilarious. They're really, really good writing, and they're not online. They're talking to each other on through telephones, not texts. There's no social media, and that's in very recent history. So what social media and what the internet have given us is beyond anything we could ever have imagined when we thought that it was all about retail, when we thought that it was all about Boots Walsall or Boots Birmingham, and being on that counter. That was the only place we could buy products, and apart from mail order, which was
I remember the catalogues.
Littlewoods and something. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was only last year that IKEA stopped doing their books.
Did they?
And we used to get one through our door every year.
Yeah.
You think of the cost of all that.
And I know.
In fact, I can't remember who it is. There's a guy that used to produce all the brochures, the holiday brochures.
Yeah.
And like now, you don't get them because you obviously look online. There's a few produced, obviously, for inside the shops. And the guy that used to print those saw the opportunity to do something. And I don't know whether it's like an online shop to buy your holidays with or what have you, but he saw it coming because he saw his livelihood producing the travel brochures disappearing in front of his eyes.
Yes.
And he took action to do it. My only thought about the social media thing and digital is I just think we've all literally, it's all hit us like a hurricane. And that's the only thing that, you've been running your business online for a bit. I'm sort of like 30% into it. But I think for the consumer out there, I think it's really hit them, and I think everyone's gone online and they're sitting there going, I just want to buy some clothes, I just want to buy a bit of makeup. So I can imagine every single thing that they're trying to get at the moment that would be going into a shop and asking questions. They can't do that anymore, which is why you do have to reach out to your customers, and they say community is the in word now.
Well, yes, it definitely is. And the good thing about being online is that you can find more of your own community. So, it's a bit random. If I went into the village trying to find people who were interested in coaching and rehoming dog meat trade survivors, I have actually got a few people in the village with our lovely dog meat trade survivors. But you need a bigger community in order to do the things that you want to do, whether that's to train coaches, to coach people, to provide makeup or whatever. I think the internet and social media particularly gives us huge opportunities. Sometimes it can feel like a huge pressure because you're busy doing what you do, and in our case it's about training coaches, and we put a shed load of time and effort into making that a high class service and a really good supportive service. And whilst we're doing that, we're not marketing ourselves online. So I think, and we tend to put our efforts into the learning support, and the marketing follows if we get round to it, which often I get to bed at night and think, oh, I just need to put my head on the pillow and close my eyes. And then the next day is exactly the same, very, very busy. So I think you do as a business have to make a decision about how you grow, you know, how you grow, and what you need to do in order to be able to grow. I think, you know, I think there's great opportunities, and I think there are, you know, big challenges as well, definitely. I was watching the telly. I never watch the telly during the day, but every day through the COVID-19 lockdown, first thing
You've been watching Doctors.
Watch the Doctors.
No, I think there's a midday program called Doctors.
Oh no! I'm watching BBC in the morning to get you know, what's happened, to find out what's happened. And there was a lady from the Camden Watch Company who's had to obviously lay off or furlough all of her staff, because they had a number of shops in London selling their watches. They started off as an online business, then did pop-up shops. They then got more permanent shops, and now they've had to close all of those, obviously, for lockdown, and they're back to selling things online. And she was saying that selling things online is one thing, but people want that retail experience. They want to experience something, I think that's an interesting challenge, isn't it, for an online program, an online company, an online product.
It will definitely challenge, and it will definitely, I think, be a leveler to your skill set, because for me, I've done some obviously lessons and workshop online, because that's the only way I can touch people at the moment. And for me, I'm almost wanting to get into the computer screen, because I can't. I'm like, just show me a lipstick, and people are going, well, I've got this lipstick, and my mum brought it me, and I really like the colour, and I'm like going, I can't see it. Whereas normally I would have took it, done it, 1 second, I'd have known exactly what was wrong with it. You know, she says it's irritating her skin. I'd look at the ingredients. I'd know the ingredient that was irritating the skin. So just simple things like that are taking me, and I literally have to spend 20 minutes or more when I'm talking to somebody, just how they're sitting in front of the camera, because I can't see. So you can see how hopefully well lit I am, because if I wasn't well lit, people wouldn't be able to see me putting products on. So it's important to me. But I think it really challenges you if you're a good teacher, because you have to, it's almost like you've got your arms tied behind your back when you go online to teach or to sell. You have to really think about what you say to get the answers that you need to get out to help that person. And I think it will really make, you know, those that succeed in doing it are very good at what they do.
So that puts me in mind of, because my mind never stops working, that puts me in mind of a little video that I found on cutting your hair yourself through lockdown. In fact, I found two. The first one, the young man who's got a great, I can't remember his name, but he's got a great presence, many people following him on YouTube. And what he did was, he had the head of a dummy with a wig on it, and he started to show how you would cut your hair into like a you know, a neatened up bob. There's not, and I watched it and I thought, bless his little art, but would I do it from what you've just said? I seriously wouldn't. I wouldn't have I couldn't do sectioning the hair into 4 parts, and I you know, this is about as sophisticated as I get. And I've got one big crocodile clip. Am I ever going to do my hair into 4 parts? And then how am I going to, and when you look in a mirror, it's difficult. And I thought, not a chance. I can't imagine anybody making a success of that. And then, of course, I've discovered TikTok videos.
I know you're into that.
Oh God, I love the TikTok videos. I have 5 or 10 minutes, maybe half an hour before I go to sleep at night watching TikTok videos, because I think people are so clever. And this lady, she got her hair, and I thought, what on earth is she doing? She didn't explain what she was doing. She got hold of her hair, she pulled it into a ponytail, and I thought she's going to do something TikToky and crazy, you know, with something is going to happen. And she had it in literally in a ponytail here. It came down her face like this. She held it and then she chopped it off like this.
Yeah.
And then she took her ponytail out and she's got miraculous layers, long layers. It was an absolute revelation to me. And I just thought, sometimes you can have too much knowledge. Well, no, you can never have too much knowledge, but sometimes you don't know how to get the point across really simply. And she absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
And the guy who's got the big following, and this was one TikTok video, I don't think it had very many followings. Probably she'd just done it. And just illustrates that point. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple.
And that's what I think about the online revolution that we're going through. As I say, I've done this thing called Find Your Stepping Stones, and I've literally launched it today. It's a Facebook group, and it's all about engaging people who are sitting at home, who are thinking they'd like to start a business, whether it be a brand new product, something they've already got, a hobby, maybe they're fantastic in fly fishing or something. But whether it's to start a community or whether it's to start an actual line of selling a product, it's just linking those together with people like yourself to come on and do a little talk about, mindset. And then it could be somebody coming on to say, I started crocheting one day, people liked my design, and then I put them on a selling platform.
So we haven't been doing makeup. You have been orchestrating with one of your makeup brushes throughout.
I'm always talking with a brush. I'm always talking with a brush. I'm always going here, here, here. If I've got a brush in my hand, I'm always doing this.
Just because that's what a makeup artist does. Absolutely fantastic. Esther Marie, thank you for your time today. It's been absolutely wonderful finding out about your journey and giving us inspirational ideas for how we can look to ourselves and be inspired by ourselves and seize those opportunities that come our way. Thank you very much, Esther Marie.
Yes, don't be scared of making mistakes. You'll learn more from them. It's true. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye.